i- is to introduce Ken. Um, so basically, we had our couple of calls already between Ken and us, so we understand our capability. And Scott already built a simple model for Scott, for sorry for Erom. So I think this call is to further understand, or initially to get an understanding between Ken. I think the main purpose is between Ken and Jeremiah, um, of understanding the need of Erom, and maybe later we can present our initial model to Jeremiah. Okay, so without further ado, Ken, can you please just introduce yourself quickly? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. Glad to be on this call. 반갑습니다. Uh,
반갑습니다.
I spent a few years in Korea, so it's my second language.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yep, yep. So, and I've built a multi-level marketing company in Japan, and I've built a multi-level marketing company in the US. I was CTO of both of those projects. I started in system architecture and system design about 25 years ago, working in the telecom space, and I learned a lot about uh, very sensitive systems, financial and technologically sensitive systems, high throughput, high availability, resilience, redundancy, all that fun stuff. And then I picked up a project consulting on the IT side for a multi-level marketing company. It was a company called XFuse at the time, another one called Bonofa, and then XFuse became KZ1 in Japan. And so I've worked on a few of those projects. I've consulted with some bigger companies that I don't really talk about their names because they're very secretive about the stuff that they do, on back office technology. And a project that I built once upon a time was a project called Tagachi, which is Korean word for Tagachi, like all together. And it
다
was
같이.
supposed to
Okay.
be, yeah, it was supposed to
Oh,
be an app that helped distributors develop good behaviors through technology. So they're not doing bad or immoral things, and they're building their education and communicating appropriately the value of their products, and building the organization in a responsible way. It didn't really take off, just because a lot of people didn't want to be responsible. So it's kind of hard
mm.
to help people see the light sometimes. But I learned a whole lot about compensation plans. I worked with some of the top compensation designers in the world. Dan Jensen, you might know him, is a good friend of mine. Nick Engstrom, who's one of the top MLM consultants in the world, mostly focusing on Europe, but also spent a lot of time in Japan. And worked with some of the top master distributors in the world. So I've got a whole list of people that I've worked with that are kind of the top in the industry. So I'm very familiar with compensation plan design, the economics, and the incentive models associated with that. We used to have this joke that said that people will work really hard for money, but they'll kill for recognition. And so we were able to leverage a lot of that in some of our compensation plan design. So that was my background. And then I had actually, it was a distributor in one of the MLMs I was consulting called me up and said, "Hey, I'm building this app in the crypto space. Can you help me build this app?" And I had a consulting firm at the time, and an engineering team that was in the consulting firm. And so we partnered with them, and this was in 2016. We got into crypto. And then by 2018, I ended up joining Hedera Hashgraph as their chief developer advocate. And if you're familiar with Hedera Hashgraph, they're one of the top 20 crypto projects in the world. But I took them from $0 to 12 billion in market cap. And so worked with that project. And Hedera is unique in that they very much focus on enterprise use cases, as not so much kind of the retail gambling side of crypto, more on like working with companies like LG Electronics and Nomura Bank, and Standard Charter, Google, IBM, Boeing. So I worked with a lot of those companies and helping them discover how to use crypto, tokenomics on a technical level, how to incorporate blockchain technology. And then I ran across the Conduit team, and I was like, holy cow, you guys are solving a lot of the problems that we're trying to solve at the software layer. You guys are solving them at the hardware layer. And so a few months ago, I decided to join the team. So officially, I'm starting here in about a week. But we're getting a head start here because I understand you guys have some urgency. So that's my background. I have like very deep compensation plan and IT experience in the MLM side, and very, very deep technical experience in crypto and blockchain. And so this is kind of where those two worlds are colliding for me. So this is kind of like the poster child project for my skill set. So I'm really excited to just sink my teeth into it and see where we go with it.
Wow, sounds very cool. So sounds like you're the right person that I should ask like a lot of questions because yeah, I myself is also very new like in MLM this market, and then like I'm not an IT guy, so just a brief my background is I was a missionary in Israel for 12 years. I was with Peter Shi and those guys, and I was in YWAM before, so with the Youth with the Mission, and then I was translating for Peter Shi, and then he was speaking a lot about back to Jerusalem, as we were mobilizing, you know, some like Chinese underground like church leaders, and I was translating for him like every three sentence he would say back to Jerusalem. So all of a sudden, like I got this calling from the Lord. Like I was like one of the night. I don't remember. Like out of the blue, like you know, God said to me like back to Jerusalem, and so I went back to. It's kind of strange because I've never been to Israel at that time, but God said back to Jerusalem. So I flew to Israel. I stayed there for 12 years. I stayed in Jerusalem for the most of the time. So during that time, you know, God spoke to me about all different kind of things. So I did different. We started with a nonprofit organization there with the foundation, and then to basically during COVID, and we get a lot of fund, a lot of donations from the Chinese communities and to help with Israeli like Messianic believers and then also Aliyah project and different things. So we found it like so I was one of the founders with the foundation, and then later we started this culture exchange. It's also a non-profit organization that with you know as you know like with the Squid Game that a lot of Israelis like they were like you know they were asking about like the Korean celebs and Korean culture and all these things. So we started this Korean cultural like organization. It's called Hani Dongari. I don't know whether you understand or not. It's like Dongari means like it's like community, like a circle, like so it's like Han is like Korea and E is Israel, so it's like Hani Dongari. So we started that organization, and then we were doing all different kind of project, mainly like with a cultural project. So, and then later, God called me to start a company, and then it's for the, it's yeah. I'm not a business person at that time, but it's very strange because there are a lot of startup companies in Israel. They're looking for like investors. They're looking for different you know the buyers and things like this. So we had these resources there in Israel, you know, with all the friends that we made throughout the like you know the years that with my foundations, with my culture exchange organizations, and then because that time it was after right after COVID, there was also you know the war, and then the Chinese or Koreans they didn't have this access to you know Israeli communities or the Israeli like companies. And then so I was living in Israel, so we had all the access, and we have all this also access through WeChat or yeah, WeChat, like Weixin and then Kakao. And so we started this company. And then by doing this, I heard from Erom. So Dr. James Huang, and then he had this vision. And then when I saw this vision, I was like, wow, this is the right vision that we need because at that time in Israel, there was also war. Right, so we were looking for what is the good things like what should we bring like for food wise, and then how we can like you know help them and to do different project and with these refugees and then when we saw this life meal and then their product lines, and then I was very excited because I think that was the right you know right thing like we should store like you know the life meal is just a package, it's a meal, but it has all the nutrition, like all the nutritions and everything in there. And then I called them, and then I had a lot of meetings that like during 3 weeks I had more than like 20 meetings with them, and all the way to the founders, and then I also heard from them that Dr. James Huang from the beginning he had this vision, for the global missions and for the end times, and then to prepare this for the not only just for the cancer patients, but for the end time, he wanted to prepare for this. God called him to prepare for this, for the whole. His group is, the company and like everything he was doing, and for 30 years, it was just for that. And so I was like 100% in for this, and then later I also heard that they were like MLM. In the beginning, I didn't like the idea as a missionary. This I had this also this idea that MLM is not really good and friendly to the believers or the church communities. But I learned from them, and then I realized, wow, this is really a good model. So I joined them. Like I joined this Korean like part of the MLM with my wife's ID, and then I started to just to build my team, and then to learn about this, and to see how this works and all these things. And then also I realized that there's also a lot of limitations. And then we were talking with also with Dr. Huang about this. And then I got connected with David Huang through another Huang. His name is Paul Huang. It's kind of interesting because it's all Huangs, the last names are Huangs. So all these Huangs that get connected. And then, well, also David Huang, he explained to me about the economic awakening. He introduced this book to me. So I read this book. I was so excited when I read this. Like, I think I spent like 1 week to read that book in Chinese, the Chinese one that David he translated. I was so excited. I can't fall asleep like after I read this. But to me, it was like too good to be real. Like it's I don't know because it sounds very good, amazing, but like I'm a very practical guy because I've been working with all these these giant like visionaries. They're all the time like they are casting out all the visions. I worked with Lauren Cunningham. I worked with Tom Hess in Israel. I worked with a couple of different also Peter Shi. He's also visionary, like spiritual visionaries. Like they were talking about all the visions. Like they say something that they say in the visions as if like they see it in the real world. So I have to like separate, like, okay, this is their vision, maybe it's gonna happen like in 10 years. I mean, this is like but when they say this as if like they see it right now. So I always like, this is what I learned like throughout the years. Like I have to separate, like, okay, this is their vision, maybe it's gonna happen in 5 years or in 10 years, but this is what is going on right now, and then how we can get there. Like if we have to, I'm the guy that like to build the bridge or bring all the bricks and then to build the buildings. They're always talking about the roof things or the up there. So we have to build like step by step. So I was always so that's why I started to call like David and ask like, how far you guys in? Like, which step you guys in? Like, where are you? And then like, where is it now? How we can start it? And like, I want to start this project. I want to see this like going to take place, but like where are you guys in, and then how can I join, and then how like all these questions, a lot of questions. So and then last November, and when David was in Jeju in Korea, and he said he was very excited, and he said, oh, there is a guy called Donglu. Their company is get like merged to CNDT, and then he had this, and then he explained to me, and then I was like, okay, then I wanted to meet with the Donglu, and then like it sounds very crazy to me, like because we don't know like whether like how practical this is, like how like just I'm always interested in like the operation system, like how we can use this, to that point. Like to me, it's still in the development stage, and then nothing is settled, nothing is final, and then it's very risky. And so I had this Zoom call with Donglu a couple of times, and then I asked him like I really asked him some like real questions, like very directly, like what if this is a fraud, what if this is or like what if this is like we have our investors, we have our partners, like we have to be responsible for this, this is all of my questions. And then he was very honest, and then he said to me, this is what he thinks. And then I said, okay, then let's do this together, because it sounds like everything is still, it's in the, I know like candidate like your team worked very hard for 6 or 7 years. Is that right? Like 6 years to build this or the underground things. And underground things to me is still like I don't know what that is. I don't know whether that exists even, but I'm sure that exists. That's why you guys trying to build something. So I know now it's in the ground level maybe to build. Maybe it's more than ground level, but to me it's like still okay. Now the underground is built, and so let's build something like from the ground zero and then to step by step. So I think it's the right time for us to join and then to build this first level together. That's what I know. But they explained to me all the like IT things and all the technical things. I don't understand. I don't understand them like 100%, but at least I know the general ideas about like throughout the years, because I've been working with the startup companies in Israel. Like I have to study what is cryptocurrencies, what is blockchains, what is all these things, all the ideas, and see how like at least I need to know what the ideas are so that I can know how to connect them, like connect the investors, connect the different partners. So I just know the very just the surface things, but I also, at least I know, well, I think I know that who are the, like, the real person, and then who are the fake ones, and then how we can connect them. That was at least what I'm trying to do. And so I also explained to the Erom group and then Dr. James Huang and then about their groups. We also had a meeting last week, and they were also very excited for this. And then this is what Dr. Huang said. This has been his dream. Like in the beginning, even like 10 years ago, he said this. He said something very similar to this, and now he said like he thinks like this is actually taking place. So he's very excited for this. So he said, okay, why don't you go for a try? Because for them, they have other things, and then he wanted me to be the test case. I mean, I guess to start this, we just they said, okay, I am allowed to use their IP, and then I am allowed, like, to get their support with this. They said, okay, $1 million, we are in. Then you can go ahead to build this thing in Dubai, and then maybe after 6 months we will see like how well this work, and then we will decide whether we're gonna change the whole platform and then everything into this or not. And then this is yeah, so I'm the test case. So this is where I am, and then yeah, it's yeah, this is a little bit about me and then where I
Awesome.
am. So
So here's the place for you to ask a lot of questions. And Ken, and you too. I guess just you guys are the main guy, please. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think, for me, I want to understand the parameters of your requirements, right? So first step is always requirements analysis to make sure that I understand where you
yeah.
guys are today, and
Mhm.
then we can build the vision of what we want to be tomorrow. In university, we called these human activity systems. So we design the human activity system of what we want the next level to be, where we are today, and then we bridge between those two. What's the delta or the difference between those two visions? What is today and where we're going tomorrow? And that becomes our action plan. So understanding what is today is always the first step for me. So I
Mhm.
am going to have some questions about technology, where you are today. I think I've gotten familiar with the compensation plan. I think I'm pretty familiar with it. It seems very straightforward to me. So I probably have some clarifying questions on that, because one of the goals of this is to only add value to what you guys already have, but to also understand where there might be flexibility.
Yeah.
Because in the current compensation plan, it's very straightforward. Anybody who's in the MLM space is going to go, it's a binary compensation plan with a matching unilevel structure, like
Yeah.
a matching override, and that there's a 35% cap on commissions, and so everything gets pro rata
That's because it's,
scaled
yeah,
down.
that's in Korea. That's if it's in the
Well,
States or
and I'll be honest, if everybody did that, that would be a good thing. Like that's a responsible way to build a company, because I've seen too many companies who
Mhm.
um, we'll just say the master distributors decide what the comp plan looks like, and the company always ends up struggling because of it. So I think it's a responsible thing to do to have that, and I love that that's a requirement. But the goal is, from my perspective, is to only add value. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of that comes through the economics of what Conduit is building. I'm working very closely with Scott. I
Yeah.
know that a lot of the economics of Conduit can be a little confusing. So part of my job is to make sure that you guys understand why these things are valuable. And I think one of the key things for me is the tax efficiencies of reward structures. And so what's getting built right now is very clearly being built and intentionally being built to leverage a lot of the compliance and regulatory frameworks of reward structures, reward systems, reward and
Yeah.
loyalty point systems. And so there's a massive tax efficiency that comes with that.
Mhm.
And so I feel like there's a lot of things we can do where we can take your existing system, lay it onto the Conduit economics. So we change very little about the reward structure, but we add the tax efficiencies. So the tax efficiencies come with changing it from paying out in a fiat currency to paying out in a reward structure, where people have the option to off ramp to fiat if they want, but then they trigger their own tax event. Alternatively, people who decide to hold on to it and maybe continue with auto ship on those reward points, or continue to transact in those reward points, or hold on to those reward points and use them for other functions in the economy, are going to recognize the tax benefits. And I think that's actually beneficial just for UAE compliance, right? There's issues with commissions in the UAE as well. So operating the reward points actually solves that problem as well. So if we're doing some stuff in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, it's very helpful to do it with a reward point system anyway. But I think it just becomes globally advantageous to do that. So I'm already seeing, just talking with Scott and making sure I understand how he envisions the integration of the Conduit economics into what you guys are doing as beneficial. And so my job is going to be to translate that, right? So there's lots of
Yeah.
complexities, and my job is to make sure you are comfortable and familiar with it. So feel free to ask any question about the economics. At the same time, I'm going to be helping direct some of the technical stuff, or at least making the connections on the technical stuff, so that Lou's team knows how to integrate with the Conduit stack, and you guys are able to apply that into your back office and your compensation engine. So I'm going to have a bunch of questions about the technology of your back office, and even some of the e-commerce stuff that you guys have built, so that I understand, okay, what is the framework we're building with? Is there something we can leverage there, so that we have minimal lift for any of this proof of concept work that we're going to do? And especially as we roll into anything that's production, we want to do that with the least amount of friction for your distributors and your customers. And so I'm going to be looking at it from a technical perspective, from an economic perspective, and then there are functional benefits that we can, like business level functional benefits, they're going to come with, we talk about them as computable contracts. These are, you might have seen smart contracts in the blockchain space, which are neither smart nor contracts, nor legally binding contracts. And so we always joke that smart contracts are neither smart nor contracts. Um, they're just executables in a space that is untrusted. Computable contracts on the other side are very different. What we've got are called computables, and we can go through that and talk about how computables might even be able to create efficiencies in your payout capabilities. For example, I know the holy grail for distributors is to have instant payouts, right? So the idea of having instant commission calculations and instant payouts is very appealing to distributors. That instant gratification for a job well done. And there are some cool things we can do with computables where we can even say you own this asset, but you don't have the rights of use of it yet, or you may have ownership but not possession and use rights yet, right? So there are some things we can do where we can recognize a sale and the reward of that sale and allow the economics still to play out for things like returns and cancellations and things of that sort, right? So and errors in payment processing and all of that. So there's some cool things that we can do with the technology stack on a business functional level. So I'm seeing these three levels of benefits
Yeah.
for what we're putting together. And I hope you've already kind of seen some of that. I don't know what the previous discussions are. Um, so I think in this call, it's just kind of like setting the stage of getting to know each other, understanding the goals, and maybe even aligning some of those goals. But I do want to make myself so I don't know if we have an open channel, Ian, how we create that communication channel here so that as those questions come through, we can get those clarified. But I think from my perspective, the first few questions I'm going to have are pretty straightforward. What are you
Mhm.
guys using for a back office? What are you guys using for your e-commerce? Are those in-house built, or are you guys using a third-party service for that? Like, any of the many by design or any of the many MLM
Yeah.
platforms out there.
Yeah, so I think we are using a third-party service. That's what we do in Korea and in the States. But this is the thing that I need to clarify, because the one that we want to build in Dubai, basically we have nothing. Like we don't have like e-commerce, we don't have web, we don't have like nothing there. Now we want to build from the scratch. Uh, but in the beginning, I thought if we do this with Conduit Network, the compensation plan itself is the Conduit like compensation plan with the squares, with the like crops, and with the raindrops, and this is the general idea I thought. But from the previous meeting, Scott told us that with API, with the Conduit Network, the underground still can run with this Conduit network with this point system and squares, and then on top of that we can still build this our pyramid. I mean, not pyramids, but it's like our buildings there. So I
Right.
realized, okay, wow, that's another like an extra point that we can use by saying this we can do either we still can use this binary with the unilevel like hybrid model in Dubai, or we can use a completely different compensation plan. So we are also open, like we are very flexible for this. Like in Dubai, this is nothing. Like this is the we don't have anything, so we can build anything on top of this. And then the one in Korea and then in the States, we do get a lot of claims and complaints from our users that there's a lot of problems too with the calculations, and it updates like every 4 or 5 hours. But nowadays, the other companies they say like they updates every minute and even every like 10 seconds. And but why our website is so slow and then so heavy and then all these things. Um, it takes a very long time because we do have it's um, well, I don't want to say all the problems here, but that's where we are. So, which means that this system also need to uh, like update, like upgrade. That's why Erom they themselves they are very interested in the whole group. They are interested in this new system and new structure, and then the whole the technology and everything. But for now, it's just too heavy to just transfer it. Like it's not the stage now. So they want to see what we build in Dubai, and then they want to see whether they can apply this to this or not. So in Dubai, we can build the same compensation plan, or but like in the beginning, I thought we're gonna build like this very similar compensation plan, like what the book tells us about, the squares and then points. I think that's very interesting because this is not like, you are not building like from the bottom to top like this way, but the whole compensation is more like in the same level in the same ground. Like it's like the farmers, not like not like the buildings. So that was my ideas before, but now there's the option. So I'm very flexible. I'm also open to hear your ideas and then your suggestions. So
Well,
um,
this is actually really good to hear, and I know that there are some. I've had some conversations with Scott around compensation plan designs, even before I got involved with Conduit directly, and I know he's got some incredible ideas about how we talk about it as mutualized value. The idea that if you're participating in the value chain, you benefit from the growth of the entire value chain, not just your little sliver of it. And so that mutualized value across the entire value chain is what you're referring to, that as the entire value chain becomes more valuable, so does everybody's share in that value
right.
chain. And so that's the exciting thing that Sky has built. Now, one of the challenges is, and I can share this with you because I've run this by master distributors around the world, is a lot of that is realizing future value and people understanding the future value and the future benefits. A lot of master distributors like to get paid today. And so there's always this question of like, can we have a culture of delayed gratification that is going to be much more beneficial for everybody versus like an instant gratification that's beneficial for the people at the top only, right? And so sometimes we have that friction when we're talking to distributors. And so I think I'm keen to see which direction we can go. We can probably do a spectrum here and between us discuss what would be the most ideal for the Dubai group. And we can look at both extremes. You can look at like the most economically beneficial for the most people over the longest period of time, and even the very short term, kind of short sighted, traditional, if you will, MLM structures. And we can compare those two and weigh that out and figure out what would be the most beneficial structure. So we can kind of go both directions and see which one we like. We can even do some data synthesis based off of your existing business activity. If you guys are open to that, we do some synthesis on that and some modeling and figure out how that plays out in both of those styles, both of those models at the extreme. And then we can have some discussions about like what would the best model look like. Because I think Scott's brilliant at figuring out what is the ideal for everybody. But what is ideal for everybody isn't always the greatest reward for the few that control the entire distributorship.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, and that's been
But
our friction point sometimes.
but it's also I think it's very important because just with the short-term view that this really can motivate all the distributors to work very hard to expand the market and then to let the business
That's
grow.
right.
So uh, but with the long-term view, it's all good, but it's people can get very, like they're overweight, and then we don't have to work anyway. So that kind of the problem we can yeah we can have that.
Yeah, and I know when we were doing compensation plan design, when I was doing compensation plan design historically, we always divided distributors into kind of three categories. You have your distributor,
Mm.
your manager, and your leader, right? Your
Okay.
distributor's goal is to eventually get their product for free, right? Their goal is to be married to the product, and
Mhm.
whatever I'm doing, my job is to earn enough commission or reward to cover the cost of my consumption. So that was like stage one. What is the quickest way we can get a distributor to free product? I mentioned that to Scott, and Scott was very excited about it because he has like
Mm.
in his head a whole idea about how we do that with the existing system that Conduit has. So I think there's some cool alignment there. A manager's goal is to transition to full time, right? So a manager's going, I'm a distributor. I get my product for free. My next goal is to build an organization that is strong enough that I'm now working full time as a distributor or as a manager in this organization. And so my job is more about managing distributors, teaching them the skills and getting them to get their products for free. And then you have the leaders who aren't dealing with the front line anymore. And this is where the wealth generation generally comes from. These are the people who are generally traveling and doing very well and are rewarded highly and recognized for that. But leaders are more focusing on building managers and then periodically dealing with key distributors that are showing lots of potential, but they don't spend a lot of time on the distributor level. They're more focused on the wealth generation. And so we always broke it up into those phases of like, okay, how do we get you to get your product for free? Now the next question is, how do we get you to go full time as a distributor or as a manager? And then the next question is, how do we retire you on this
Mhm.
recurring income? Right. And so those are kind of the 3-phase visions we had. And everything in the incentive structure led to how do we get you to these 3 milestones? And so I think there, whether we do it through strictly commission structures, traditional commission structures, or we do it through mutualized economics, which is what Scott's going to try to do. I think if we can paint that picture, first of all, if we can synthesize the data and model that out, and then simulate that data so that we can show how it could actually work, and then you build a plan and execute on that and show people that, yeah, you can move through these phases using these new economic models. I don't think people care if it's done through a binary or a unilevel or a matrix or anything. They don't really care about the compensation plan design. What they care about is the outcome. And
Mhm.
the reality is most MLMs, people fall out before they get their product for free. The vast majority of people are paying more than they're getting back for the time that they're in an MLM before they fall out. And there's a very small number that actually get to that free product level, and even fewer that get to the managerial level, and even way fewer that get to the leader level. Usually, the leader level, you'll have less than 1,000 leaders in an MLM,
Mhm.
which is crazy. Like you paint the picture that everybody can become a leader, but there's like less than 1,000. If you got 1 million distributors, less than 1,000 of them are actually leaders. And so, but I think through this mutualized economics, if we can paint that same beneficial picture, how do we get your product for free? Step one, what's the shortest way we can do that? Through the mutualized economics or through commission structures, and we can play with both of those models. The
Mhm.
next level is how do we get you to go full time on this so you don't have to work another job? And that's another paradigm shift. And then the third one is how do we retire you on this? And so, anyway, that's kind of the framework that I generally start with when thinking about compensation plan design. And doing it with mutualized economics is really exciting to me because
Mhm.
it, A, we're being tax efficient.
Yeah.
B, we're leveraging proven economic models that are used on higher order economic interactions, right? This is how banks and economies interact anyway.
Right.
All we're
Right.
doing is bringing that down to the individual. And then C, I think we can realize it realistically, but we have to tell that vision and get people excited about it. So to your point, sometimes those short-term gains motivate people, but I think we can paint that picture slightly differently than it has historically. But I still want to model it all out. Like I'm a very data-driven guy, so I want to see how this
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
plays out, and I want to go through the numbers. So for me, the first thing I would love to see, and you tell me how far we go down this rabbit hole. I'd love to see some actual data of what your payouts look like today. Like if I can get 3 months of payouts, payout data. I
Mhm.
don't know if you have payout reports that are easily accessible that we can look at. I know some companies do, some companies don't. Some companies are flying by the seat of their pants of like just running compensation payouts every
How
week.
many, like, how many data, how many cases do you need? Like, at least I can show mine to you. And then
Yeah.
there are couple people there, like the new, just distributors data I can show to you.
Yeah, I'd like to see a few, maybe like 3 from each of those categories: the distributor, manager, and leader, and seeing their downline calculations. How are they
Okay.
getting compensated? How are they getting commission?
Okay.
If we can get 3 of each of those,
The only problem now we have is that from January this year we have a new like aspect, like a new compensation, like
Mhm.
incentives add on this on top of what we have. It's called the we have a KPI incentives. So add another extra like payments, and so it's new. We have a new models, but I can show you what we have, like what we did like last year. Um, yeah, I can show you some of them. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
we have
that
it. So,
that would be great because that'll give me a good idea of what is happening,
mhm.
what the current state is, and then we can model against that and make sure that either we're retaining the same opportunity. Now, again, to your point, I'm really excited to hear that Dubai is kind of a blank slate. We get to explore some of that, but I would like to have a starting point for
Yeah.
modeling so that even what we do launch in Dubai, we've got kind of a baseline of expectations.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So my question is for the technical side. Is this doable that we can change? Like for example, I get a certain amount of money as a for the bonus, and then I can change it to the points, and then I even can change it to the tokens or the CNDT tokens. Is this doable, or it's still in the it's not yet stage, and then maybe it's gonna happen in the future?
I'll
Because
let
you also
Ian hop in on the readiness levels of all that.
what's that?
He's gonna let me answer it. I think it would. So the short answer is I would say yes. It's generally ready. I what would be interesting is how fluid you want to be in interchanging between those. Just as opposed to I'm going to choose this comp structure, and I'm going to get 30% as token or this amount as points and this amount of fiat, right? Like if that's how you guys come up with the compensation structure side of it. Um, I will say that any exchanging between those after that point in time is going to be, whatever's provided by the network and not probably part of the plan, if that makes sense, right? So
But
like
is this like a two-way, or it's only just for now it's one way? You can like change it to this, and then you can't take this out. Like
it
you change
depends
it.
on which ones you're trying to exchange from. So like points into fiat would be a one way, right? Like you can't buy
Uh,
points again. You can only earn points from participating, but you could, off ramp into fiat if you wanted to that way. Um, Yeah, anything out of points I would consider one way. That's probably the easiest way to
okay,
think about it. Even if you went from points into tokens, right? Like you're probably not coming back. Well, you're not coming back into points from tokens, right? So that's probably the clearest way for me to say it.
okay. Then does it matter whether we do this in Dubai or in anywhere in the world, or does it like because what when we want to do like the reason we want to do it in Dubai is because in Dubai because with the regulations and with the laws, anyone like any citizenship they can join their membership and then can start have their own like accounts. But like with the candidate,
Yeah, I mean, I generally jurisdictionally being a part of a rewards point system, I think is going to be okay if you as long as you stay in. I think any jurisdictional changes will come when you try to move out of it, right? Like, so if you do try to move into fiat or you try to move into tokens, depending on your jurisdiction, um, we're going to have to abide by the law, right? Like in those places where we do that. But participating in the rewards point network as a whole, generally we found that every jurisdiction treats that pretty much the same. So
okay,
Can I jump in here a little bit? I think we have about 12 minutes left for this call. I have to jump in another call at 9:30. I just want to show quickly to Jeremiah what we um, and this is just an example, Jeremiah.
yeah,
You haven't seen this yet. We've spent some time on this already. This will answer some of your questions. So basically, mutualized rewards um, designed for Erom, right? We'll have this squares, yield rise, points, right? And there'll be status level and crop contribution. So this is a so basically the participants of Erom will earn these
hmm
things. What I mean is like these are not assets, but indirectly, so the CNDT or whatever the token of the network is not directly owned, but it's backed for points, and points are directly can be used as cash to redeem or purchase in the future, right? I'm just going to go through this really quick, um, and basically internally we're going to use the supply chain model to supply understanding, this is Erom's current model that, um, you know, to use, the conduit model, replicate that, it will be something like this. So these are just numbers, not like Ken mentioned, not exactly modeled, but just as an example. So this is a supply chain model, right? For example, if the $100 purchase from CM level person um, through DM, FL, PL, SL, and if this is the percentage, if of points earned, so each level will earn up to 120% of the crop as points, right? Basically, $100 transaction go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers will create a $500 GDP in this ecosystem. Every layer will have its own economics of earning points, right? So what's fascinating is that if you all aggregate all this together, it's actually greater than each of the person's percentage earned as a crop. And also Erom at the same time, even though Erom sold $100 of product, and Erom will end up um, making more money. So it's 100 um, in a way, it's like 24 points earned through selling $100 products, right? So this is basically a illustration. The numbers not exactly um, right, which Ken said we're gonna basically by understanding this, we're gonna model this out because this number can be designed in many ways. So we need to nail down the exact model in I would assume in Excel to illustrate this. But basically, yeah, we want to show very simple math to the participants of if you sell this much, if you at this level, how much money you're gonna earn, right? Anyway, so this is just a quick deck that Scott just made, right? And I think we're just gonna take that as a base to show you the capability of Conduit and what we can achieve. There are a lot of details we need to earn, iron out. All right?
Yeah, okay, yeah. This is very good. Can you send this to me, or maybe we have
Yeah,
another
yeah.
meeting
I
and
think Ken, the key is like this. We're gonna polish this because these numbers are not actually real. We need to figure out the exact, compensation scheme. So I think there are a couple of threads of this project we can go. So one clear task that we need to do is between Ken and Jeremiah is to really figure out the compensation model, right? So that's one conversation we need to go through, and the other is basically the I would say the e-commerce and payment. We need to build, we meaning from Take Me side, we need to build an e-commerce website for you. The e-commerce has that, you need to have a payment gateway, which we're going to take a payment gateway from Conduit, so that you can, do business in Dubai. And so that's I would say, Casey would lead that conversation in terms of all this, basic technology development. And also on the actual conduit asset side, right? We need to also discuss with Ian how, right, the wallets, right, the Erom wallets versus conduit wallets, how do we figure out this too, right? So we had a lot of conversation, especially taking like security into the conversation because security we think is very, very important, to how to protect these assets, in a really secured way. So I think generally my understanding, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's like three, I would say sub projects. Like one is the e-commerce payment gateway, build that layer with Casey and Ken and Jeremiah, you figure out the compensation model. And then between Ian and Ken, probably us, is to figure out the wallets. Is my understanding correct? So I need to go basically by the hour, but Casey is the host. If we need to go over time, I think this whole session will still go on. But because I need to I need to leave at 9:30, but say it's just kind of towards the end of the meeting. Is this where we're gonna head for the next steps?
well, what's the next step? Like, we're gonna have a
Yes.
next meeting.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I should have a meeting with Casey and Ken, and then we talk about some practical things, some actual numbers and
Yeah.
data.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah, absolutely. And
okay.
I'd love to, yeah, I'd love to get some of that data. I've already started kind of like, I'll just show you here my screen. I'm just modeling out some assumptions around your business. And so, but I'd love to get some actual numbers, right? So this is just me saying it in a business of this particular size with this size of this type of compensation structure, what would a standard MLM look like with these types of compensation plans. So
Mhm.
I've already started to model it out, but this is again why I wanted to see the actual data for the last 3 months, because I think that'll help me get more accurate on it. And then what Lou was just talking about, we want to take that PowerPoint and reflect it with, okay, given these types of economic activities in the system today, what are the optimizations we can add? And so I think there's the three layers I would think of are the obviously the front end, the e-commerce layer. Then we have all of the computables. So there's an entire layer around like how do we structure the computables in the conduit level so that we have these comp plan calculations, all the economic recognitions, all the value propagation across all the participants. And then the wallet is where that's all going to be reflected. So that's that kind of third layers in the wallet to where everybody will be able to see, audit, and evaluate. How did I get compensated? Like, and how does this all add up? Which, by the way, if people can look at their own wallet and they can see their computables and they can see how the math is done, that reduces your customer support phone calls by orders of magnitude when people are going, why the heck is my compensation plan not reflecting the sales I just made? And you're like, wait 4 hours and you'll be fine. At least this way, they'll be able to see activity real time and they can see
Yeah.
what the future computables look like and be like, okay,
Yeah.
I see why it's not reflected yet or why I'm expecting it to come and all that stuff. So anyway, so those are, I agree. I think there's those three major components that we'll be looking at: e-commerce, wallets, and computables. But again, this is just me looking at what you guys have and making a lot of assumptions about industry best practice and what I've observed in the industry. So I'd love to have some real data to plug in here so that we have that baseline and then we can start from there.
Okay, so should we then schedule the next meeting here now, or we can communicate through WhatsApp?
Yeah, I think we should definitely set up a meeting. Next step, I think the most important meeting is or the meeting that has a lot of things we have to figure out is the compensation model. That
Mhm.
definitely I'm gonna create the group with adding everybody in. So the compensation model is gonna be mainly between Ken and Jeremiah. Understand it, and of course, then you need Jeremiah need to supply some material for Ken to help out. And for the e-commerce um, and payment topic, I think Casey can take over that. It's relatively doable. And then I think that's for the sort of thirdly for the wallet conversation, we need to understand um, the need too from Jeremiah. And then I think mainly to realize that the wallet is going to be between Ian and Casey. So yeah, so I think all these three topics, let's talk about it. But I think in terms of what do you think, Ken? I think the most urgent one would be um, the compensation model. What do you think? Because rather relatively, I think the e-commerce and payment is easy. We just need to understand it's like SKUs and maybe we need to understand more about the
Yeah.
shipping. I think that's other stuff conversation. We need to understand how do you ship your product, right? Do you have your own warehouse management system? How do we do drop shipping? So we need to understand the whole e-commerce part of that. Um, and yeah, so we can break down the three topics into three sets of meetings with different people so that we don't have the whole crowd attending for all the meetings, so that we can move on quickly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
That's good. So maybe Lou, you're gonna create another group, like a WhatsApp group, and then add all of us, and then maybe just schedule the next meeting, and then just say
Yeah,
who will be in the meeting, and then say what time is good, and then we all check, and then get in the meeting, and then move forward, move on from there. 아니면 괜찮아요,
sure,
이게?
sure, sure. Yeah. So I can already say, for the same hour as today, um, that I can do tomorrow and
Uh,
Friday. Friday,
no, same hour is kind of
eight
too early for
too
me.
early. Okay, okay.
No, because yeah, 8:30. I can't start 8:30 every like today is okay because I'm in Seoul, not in Jeju. But if I'm in Jeju and this is like time like I need to send my kids to the schools and
Okay,
kindergartens and or it's yeah, it's
okay.
still too early to start the
What's your
day for
preferred?
me.
What's your preferred?
9 a.m. It's okay.
Okay.
I can
Well,
do
just
it on
yeah,
nine.
30 minutes
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
Yeah. So I can do that tomorrow and also Friday. Um,
Tomorrow and Friday. Okay, Friday.
I think, you know, our team, like Casey, we can always do that. Just up to you. We can start talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
numbers.
Wednesday. Oh, tomorrow. No, tomorrow it's not because I will be in the airport tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And so if we do it tomorrow, it's maybe 11. 11 o'clock I can do it. Um,
Yeah.
10:30 or 11.
Yeah. What about you, Ken?
Yeah, any of those times. Well, let's see. 11 would be
Pretty late
two
for you here.
hours, an
Yeah.
hour and a half after now, right? So
Yeah.
right now you guys are at 9:30. So
And
11
you
would be an
are?
hour and a half. I'm Pacific, so I'm in California.
You're
But that's
California.
actually not that bad for me. If you guys do
Okay.
11 a.m., that's actually not bad for me. That would be 6
So
Tomorrow
p.m. my
11
time.
a.m.
so tomorrow, I would say let's do a meeting. I think with two conversation we can wrap up because you have intensive background. We can talk about the e-commerce part and shipping and also maybe getting some idea data about the compensation model. What do you say, Ken? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yep,
I
that works
think
for me.
maybe for now, Ian, you can be optional. What do you say? Yeah, because we just need to figure out. I think
You're on
um
mute, Ian.
yeah,
Yeah, put me on as optional. I mean, I'd love
yeah,
to be there
yeah.
to hear it. I always pick things up, and Ken always asks good questions. So
Cool, cool.
sometimes he gathers information for me.
All right. And okay, cool. So we'll meet tomorrow at 11 a.m. Tokyo and Korea time. We're the same time zone, and I'll send out a calendar invite for all
Sure,
people.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Also, James, optional for you too. All right. Thank you, thank you. All right.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
guys.
guys.
Perfect.
Yeah.
See you
Thanks,
tomorrow.
everyone.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
See you
Bye-bye.
soon.